Welcome to Intune.Training, the place to learn how to use Microsoft Intune, the Steve and Adam show with no
Hi,
Adam.
Adam. Oh, Ben.
That never gets old. How's it going, Steve?
It's pretty good, Ben. How about yourself?
I am not bad. So we are back for video number 2 of a 3-part series.
Check it. Number two.
So if you were following along, the first video that we did was about how to package the company portal for deployment to Mac devices.
If you haven't watched it, please feel free to go back and watch it. We'll wait.
Exactly. I do strongly recommend stop what you're doing right now, go back, watch that. It's a very short video, but it is important to sort of get that as a baseline for anything further. But today, in video 2, Steve, what are we going to go through?
So today, video 2, we're going to go through the final steps of connecting Intune and Apple Business Manager. So previously, when Ben and I did a video, I'd say a couple of months ago now, it's been a while.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah. We went through the initial setup of Apple Business Manager. We talked about how all the stuff that we had to go through to get that configured. This is now the next step of we're going to connect it to Intune and the MeMac portal.
Yep.
And how we're going to then allow that to bring profiles in, bring devices in, bring applications in, and everything associated. So this one's probably going to be a little bit longer than the last one.
Yeah.
Just because we've got a couple of steps that we need to go through, but it shouldn't be as glitchy with the video as the last one.
Nice. So just because I haven't done that much work with Mac stuff. So just to confirm, essentially what we're doing here is basically the same thing as linking up the Microsoft Store for Business and Intune. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. For all intents and purposes, it's exactly the same thing. It's the same as connecting to Android Enterprise. Yeah. It's just sitting there and connecting all of it together to say, this is the service that I'm going to trust to provision my devices, my applications to my trusted devices.
Okay, great. Well, let's stop beating around the bush and we'll just get straight into it.
Let's do it. All right. So I'll just quickly share my screen if I can remember which one it is. It's that one there. And I'll just move you down the bottom because I want to see your smiling face.
Exactly. So, okay, obviously we're starting at the MeMac portal.
Yep.
Where we always start. So what
we
are we
didn't last time.
We didn't. No, that's true. Okay. So what are we doing?
So in here, we're going to go to devices, which we're already on. And then we're going to devices enrollment or enroll devices.
Yep. And
we're going to select this Apple enrollment option here. In here, we've already set up our MDM push notification certificates and everything required.
Yep.
That was part of the last video, I believe.
Yeah.
If it isn't, we'll check. And then we're going to sit here and we're going to go to the enrollment program tokens. Right now, we don't have any set up, which is correct, expected, and everything associated. So there's 2 options here. If you're an education organization, you're going to use the Apple School Manager, I think it's called. Whereas we're a business, we're going to be using the Apple Business Manager. So we're going to add the option here. And look, for all intrinsic purposes, they're the same platform. They just have different links and different components. So the first thing that we're going to say is we're going to give Microsoft permission to give information to Apple of what the devices are using and the user information. So look.
That is what the connector is.
That's right. I mean, it's how they give me the ability to do it. And at the end of the day, my users are going to provide that information even if I don't give them the information. So it gets me past that problem. But obviously, you should be reading and understanding what you're agreeing to there.
Cool.
The next step we're going to do is we're going to download our public key. And this is just a PEM certificate that will pop up here. So here's our Intune key. And we go and complete that process. The last step on this UI that we care about right now, we'll come back and do a couple of other things in a minute, is we're going to click on Create Token via the Apple Business Manager. Obviously, we've got the School Manager as we discussed.
Gotcha.
But here we're going to select Apple Business Manager. And we've already gone in there. We've already signed in because it's a time-consuming process. So we have gone, selected settings, and then device management settings. Sweet. And the reason why we've done that is there's PII there that I didn't want to share. So we're just going to not show it on the screen to save us from editing it later.
This is called being efficient.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So the next step we're going to select is that add MDM server.
Yeah.
And we give it a name. We always want to give it a name that is useful.
Training with an emoji.
I don't know if it's going to accept it, so I'm not going to do that.
Oh, okay.
Hang on, all right, Ben.
Give it a go. Come on. I think it's going to work.
All right, let's see. We're going to allow it to release devices. So this is a new setting. Highly recommend it because then you don't need to go into Apple Business Manager as often as you would need to previously to release devices. Release is where you're retiring devices, because that was the question Ben was going to pull me up on.
Exactly. I was just going to say release devices is terminology you're not quite used to. So you're literally, I mean, it makes sense if you think about it for more than 3 seconds, but you're essentially releasing, letting go of a device from management.
Releasing it to the wild.
Exactly. You're free to go. If you come back.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So we've done that. What are we doing now?
The next step is we've got to upload our public key. So this is the PEM file that we downloaded.
Just made. Okay.
And we go to our downloads and we grab our Intune key.
Sweet.
It's all happy. It didn't throw any errors. And we're going to hit save.
Nice.
We now have this. The next step is we need to download the token. And we got our emoji in there, Ben. You'll be very happy.
I am very happy.
So we're going to download our server token, and we now have our token here.
With an emoji in the name.
Yeah.
This is great. Okay.
So we give it a name here of our Apple ID. Look, this is not validated, but it is super important that you actually set it correctly. And the reason why you want to make sure that it's correct is so that you have the ability to go and update it without having to start again.
Right. Oh, but does it send out a confirmation email or something?
No confirmation. This is a free text field where you need to put in an email address.
Oof. Okay.
Right. So it's so you have a reminder in 12 months, 18 months time when you need to renew it, what account was used to set it up.
Is this renewal because everything's backed on those certificates?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the token expires because the public key expires. Yep. Gotcha. Yep. Okay. Cool. Important to know.
And it's the same with the Apple or APN Apple push notification certificate as well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we're going to go here, grab our Apple token, which is the one that we just downloaded, and we have the emoji in the title.
Awesome. And
we're going to hit next. And let's see how that goes through if we go next and we go create. Cool.
Awesome.
And it got the title here.
And we got the title. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. Right. So we now have our ability to sync devices in. Right now, we don't have any devices that we're going to sync in. That's part of the next step. And there's also a couple of other things we can do. The first thing we need to set up, though, is our profiles.
Yep.
So this is the equivalent of the autopilot profiles, sort of. It's autopilot light.
Sure.
And we're going to select our Mac OS because that's what we're focusing on for the next video.
Yep.
So we're going to give this the Mac OS.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
Okay. We go. Next. And user affinity here. We're definitely going to do that with user affinity because we want the device assigned to the user.
So this is how we link a user to a device, right? Yep. So that's okay, great.
And then the second part here is where we need to have that company portal deployed to users. And it says explicitly here, you must deploy company portal to users as a required app to allow the device registration with Azure Active Directory.
So is this saying, Steve, that the modern authentication stuff is actually leveraging authentication methods within the company portal to do this?
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
I believe when you go to 11 and beyond, it may be handled a bit differently.
Sure.
But previous from 10.5, 10.15, you needed to have the modern authentication application there to be able to do MFA.
Okay, well, I mean, it makes sense, right? So,
Yep.
why would Mac have a native ability to do like MSAL authentication? That's essentially what we're getting from Company Portal is that ability to have the Microsoft authentication library.
That's correct.
Okay, great.
And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to prevent the user from removing the management profile through system preferences or terminal. That's super important. You don't want people to just go, I'm just going to remove it. Yep. It's the same as removing the config manager agent. We'd never want that to happen. We're going to go next. We have the ability here to give it a department.
Yep.
So obviously, because the executive team has the Macs.
You didn't want to call it the designer's design room? That's not a phone number.
But it's accepted.
Yeah, that's interesting.
There's no validation on the field. And that's important because like some organizations, they're starting to move to soft phones where they don't have explicit phone numbers anymore. You can just hit an email address in Teams. Yep. So,
sure. Of course. So it's just a contact method. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. And then the next step we can go through here is we can control parts of the out-of-box experience. And we're going to turn off location services because everybody who's dealt with Mac or iOS previously has gone through the experience of, this Mac or this iOS device has been registered to Ben. He's left the organization. I now need to go down to the Apple store with an invoice to prove that I own the device. Mm-hmm. Location services is what gives that. Same with Apple ID. And obviously, we don't
so it's suppressing the ability for the end user to choose to have that device affinity to their account, not their corporate account. Gotcha.
That's correct. Obviously, we can have it so it pops up, but we want it as streamlined as possible.
Yeah, sure.
So we're just going through, and the thing I'm going to note is all of these settings should work or do work with the production version of macOS. Mm-hmm. But when we go into our demo in the next video, we're going to be using a preview version that now supports the import, and it might work a little bit differently. So I'm just calling that out now if it doesn't work properly.
Question for you on what we just went through and hid all of those settings.
Yes.
Does that essentially is that basically like just accepting the defaults?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
Unless you go in and explicitly change it.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Cool.
So we've got the profile, fantastic, but that's not the last part we need to do. We need to just do set default profile.
Okay.
And we're going to select our Mac, and we're going to click OK.
Nice. So you can have two different default profiles for two different scenarios, iOS and macOS.
That's correct, because they're different configurations.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
It's pretty straightforward. So that's covered off the component about bringing in the devices.
Yep.
The other part that we need to cover off in the Apple Business Manager to connect it correctly is we need to go in and do our connectors and tokens for the VPP, or the Apple Volume Purchasing Program. Okay. So this is where we go here, and we're going to go and create. And you'll see here, give it a token name and all of that. Yep. But we need to go and open the VPP portal, which is now in the Apple Business Manager.
Yeah.
So in here, we select, let's see if I can remember, it's under Enrollment Information, and we have the legacy VPP accounts.
Okay.
And we're going to go invite. Oh, that's not what we want. Sorry, I do apologize. Is the apps and books? I do apologize. I have not been through this often enough. And as you can see, my internet is fantastic. And it's just taking a little bit of time to load up that apps and books page. So what we're looking to do here is we're needing to get a volume purchasing program token for the platform to say, go and register the devices across there. While that's going through, what I'm going to, oh no, I won't. What I might do is I'm just going to cancel that for a sec. And we're going to select this Intune.Training tenant heart section. And we're going to change the default device assignments because we're going to need this later on. Yeah. So I figure we may as well set it up now. And this is where we want to say, all devices are going to go to our Intune.Training tenant when they're
Yeah.
And it's super important to do that. We hit save. And why it's important is because it will automatically provision them across and it'll do everything we need. So if we now go back to our apps and books, it'll eventually load up.
All right. For those watching, sorry about that. We just needed to very quickly switch devices because it turns out that we had a fun little policy that was blocking iTunes. Okay, so what are we doing here, Steve? We just need to finally configure the VPP token?
That's correct. So we've gone from the Intune portal here. We're going to go back to Apple Business Manager and we're selecting the apps and books section. Yep. You'll see that I've already purchased some apps in this tenant, and we'll see down here we already have a server token. And that's because of the region that we've selected up in the locations, and we've said, yep, we need to have a server token. So I'm going to download that token, and then we're going to go across here. We're going to give it a token name of and we're going to give it a name. And again, this field isn't checked.
Yeah, so it's not strongly typed, but make sure that you put in your Apple ID.
That's correct, because this is going to be super important if you ever need to update it.
Yeah,
because
sure.
If you don't have access to get the same VPP that you've from the same location, you may have to reinstall applications. You may have to reinstall configurations.
You've done something very incorrect there. Can you please go back and put an emoji in the name?
I'm on a Mac, so.
Oh, you can't remember. Okay, that's fine. You get a pass.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
So here's where we're going to say we're going to take control of the token from another MDM. Of course, definitely want to do that because it's previously been used on Intune, but we want to make sure that it's picking it up.
Sure.
This is where if you're running a third party or a non-Microsoft MDM, you have the ability to pull it across and take that ticket or token. From here, we're going to go and select our country. Ben and I are in Australia, so we're the most important.
Of course.
We have our VPP type, which is definitely business, even though we do a lot of educational here. And this one here, while it's off by default, highly recommend it. It means that it'll keep all of your applications up to date automatically. You don't have to impact your end users.
That's fantastic.
But do understand that there will be some scenarios where you want to have a certain version, but honestly, keep it up to date.
Yeah.
And we're going to grant Microsoft permission to send the user's device information to Apple again.
Yep.
And the reason why we have to tick it here as well as in the other UI is because you don't have to do both of them. You could do one and not the other and vice versa.
So that's what I was going to say. This seems like what we're doing here is essentially creating two different connectors, one for device enrollment and then one for application management.
That's correct.
Yeah,
so
okay.
If you don't do this component here, so the VPP component,
you can still enroll devices. But
you can still enroll devices, and when you deploy applications, the users will be prompted to install them, and they'll be told that they need to go to the store. When I tried this a couple of years ago, quite a number of years ago now, as soon as you had more than 6 applications, it started throwing errors for the end user as required if they weren't enrolled as Apple Business Manager devices.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Because it was saying to the user, go and install this, and it's got a list of applications, and it's just trying to hit them. And the maximum number of streams at the time was 6.
Gotcha.
So just something to keep an eye out on. I don't know if it's been fixed. It's just my experience previously.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, if you're down this rabbit hole and you're watching this video, you probably want to connect both things.
Yep. So we're just going to hit next.
Yep.
We're going to have no scope tag, and we're going to create. And that's it.
Awesome.
We now have the ability to deploy applications, and we have the ability to enroll devices into Intune from the Apple Business Manager.
That's fantastic, Steve.
Yeah, I think so, other than the
that's fine. That's
Defender issues we had because of our chaos configuration for
our security team is a little aggressive. Let's put it that way. Okay, great. So look, at a high level, essentially what we've just achieved is we've created 2 different connectors, one for device management, one for app management. It's not actually that difficult. Follow through the video, and obviously if there's any questions that you have, leave in the comments below. I think that's a great place to end this video, Steve.
Definitely.
And I will see you again for number 3.
That's right. So number 3 is definitely going to be, we're going to be enrolling a device, being a Mac Mini, into Apple Business Manager. Make sure you tune in. It's going to be using the new beta versions of Mac OS and iOS that came out this week or recently, depending on when the video comes out and when you're watching it. But this is a super new feature, and we felt that it's super important that we actually get it documented as quickly as possible. So it is beta software, but we're just calling that out now.
Awesome. All right, Steve, I will see you in the next video.
See you soon, Ben.
Bye.